Here at ComCon, there's a Made in Butler cafe, an artist alley, and even some performances. Parking at the University of Maryland is about to get a lot harder. I'm Sam Luckert, and find out why the university is creating its own parking shortage.
Opioids can be a long-term and affordable solution, but there is an overabundance. According to the United States Health and Human Service Department, about a quarter of U.S. counties dispense enough opioids for every person to have one.
Instead of parking here, students will have to park
here in Stadium Drive Garage or Terrapin Trail Garage and appropriated visitor spaces.
The New York Times actually says that pottery is the new Pilates. Psychotherapist Ashley Warner says making functional pottery like this can actually help alleviate depression and stress. Making a cup of tea has never felt so stress-free.
Do you make tea? Do you drink it out of a boring old metal teapot? I'm Sam Luckert reporting, and you can find out at 7 how to make your own.
The Center for Disease Control actually labeled 2017 as an epidemic due to the opioid crisis. The bipartisan bill, the CARE 2.0 Act, is meant to counteract it. Now, this bill is not just going to limit opioid use for acute pain, it's also going to add money towards rehabilitation, treatment, as well as evidence-based research. We don't have the full story on the CARE 2.0 Act since it's still in Congress, but in the next coming weeks, we should have more updates on its successes and failures.
One of the many reasons that the university is creating this parking shortage is for the Purple Line. The Purple Line is a part of the metro system and will be expanding all over campus. In the basement of Stamp Student Union, wet, messy clay is being squished, squashed, and kneaded at the ALC's This Little Teapot workshop. Teapots are one of the most difficult pieces to make, but that isn't stopping pottery teacher Peter Holden.
Yeah, it kind of pushes me a little bit to make something better than what I normally would.
The journalist turned potter says this is more than a hobby.
And I'm obsessed with it. It's quite odd to be obsessed with making functional pottery, but you know, it's one of the things I do.
But not everyone is an expert potter.
Now, when I'm a grad student, I kind of want to just, I don't know, I wanted to do things to meet new people, so this is that.
So I actually did some pottery like a while back at camp, so it's my first time in like at least a decade or so.
The New York Times actually says that pottery is the new Pilates. Psychotherapist Ashley Warner says making functional pottery like this can actually help alleviate depression and stress. Making a cup of tea has never felt so stress-free.
Emily Hilt says she'd take the class again, but with a caveat.
Hopefully do a little bit better.
Because for Hilt, this class is more than just a stress reliever. It's a way to make something functional for her kitchen too. Do you have trouble finding a spot at the University of Maryland? It's about to get worse. The University of Maryland's Department of Transportation Services, or DOTS, projects the loss of over 3,000 parking spaces by the end of 2018. The university is destroying various parking lots around campus for different initiatives, including the Purple Line, the relocation and addition of tennis courts, and new academic buildings. Junior information science major Lisa Fung is a commuter. She's upset with what she calls the university's disregard for students.
So where am I going to park next semester? In lot 11, I have to walk like 20 minutes to get anywhere?
According to DOTS, in 2017 alone, the university got rid of more than 1,000 parking spaces. Instead of parking here, students will have to park
here in Stadium Drive Garage or Terrapin Trail Garage and appropriated visitor spaces.
Sophomore Kat Chang is worried that she already couldn't get parking this year and is afraid it will be worse in the future.
Because it's already really difficult enough and it's also expensive enough, so unless they find like a different solution, then I just don't see like how we'll really benefit.
DOTS suggests students and faculty ride shuttle public transportation, carpool, or bike to lessen the parking burden. Junior Renee Tracy says DOTS is not being realistic.
It's not a viable option for some people to bike all the way to campus because that could take hours, and when you show up here, you're already exhausted. You're not ready to learn.
According to the Diamondback, those additional spaces won't take any additional construction. DOTS is considering reducing the widths of parking spaces in the garages by 6 inches. This would add an estimate of as many as 80 more parking spaces. Erin Grace Schwartzman is 20 years old. She's been using opioids since she was 14. Schwartzman has more than 22 prescriptions to alleviate symptoms for a variety of illnesses, many of them rare.
So my pain level daily is about a 7 minimum, and today was an 8, yesterday was a 9. That's pretty typical for me.
She's just one of the millions of people relying on prescription pain relievers daily.
Opioids can be a long-term and affordable solution, but there is an overabundance. According to the United States Health and Human Service Department, about a quarter of U.S. counties dispense enough opioids for every person to have one.
The CARE 2.0 Act is a bipartisan bill that will increase funding for evidence-based education, treatment, and recovery. It will also impose a 3-day limit on opioid prescriptions for acute pain, an issue for many. 26-year-old Teresa Ferraro has fibromyalgia and has used opioids for 10 years. Ferraro is worried that there is no real standard for acute pain.
Before I was put on Vicodin I was literally bedbound for like 3 weeks.
21-year-old Adam Rader doesn't believe in opioid prescriptions. He takes numerous medications but finds opioids too powerful.
You take it and then you forget about like all the other pain that you have that you don't realize that like you go through every day with.
Rader believes in finding a different answer to pain. Schwartzman is working with ADAPT, a disability rights organization that is bringing awareness to what they say is the necessity of opioid use. Schwartzman wants people to know that addiction is real, but so is pain.